Hello and welcome to Season 2 of the Utopia Restoration podcast, where we talk about anything and everything automotive, with people that are passionate about vehicles to business owners, small businesses. We are available on every single platform, but if you really want to support us, make sure you head over to our YouTube and watch it on there. Enjoy the episode. So hello and welcome to Season 2. We've got some really exciting news coming up soon, but you'll have to stay on the edge of your seats for that one. But today's podcast is with Exmoor Trim, and I had the fantastic opportunity, I think it was back in October, just before they launched their deluxe Exmoor Trim seats in tan, which are beautiful, and I'm going to be getting myself a set to replace my current black ones, which seems a bit silly. But you'll get to see that soon, because I think they're wonderful. But anyways, we went down to Exmoor Trim. I got to see the factory, got a full tour, which is up on YouTube now, and I got to chat with John Rayson, the sales manager, and John Pettinger, the R&D and technical director. It's a wonderful chat with them, and I think it's really fantastic and interesting business. Of course, a lot of people have seen on Instagram and on Facebook, but actually to get to go see the product, see the quality. And one of the things I was really surprised by is quite how small it is. You see them as a very large player in interiors, but as we talk about in the podcast, it was only sort of 56 employees, which I think really nails home the quality and the sort of the knowledge that they have in this business. But I'll let you find out a bit more about that in the podcast. So here it is, Exmoor Trim with John Rayson and John Pettinger. Hello and welcome to the Utopia Restoration podcast. Today I'm actually in the Exmoor Trim factory and I'm recording with John Rayson, the sales manager, and John Pettinger, the R&D technical director. So how are you guys doing today?
Good, yeah, nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you. Has it been a busy day at Exmoor Trim today?
Oh yeah, and no different than usual.
Every day's a busy day.
That's perfect. So for the people that don't know, could you give us a bit of a background of what Exmoor Trim does? Well, I'm sure people do know because it's such a household name in Land Rover. But
Yeah.
for people that don't, could you give us some background about what it is that you guys do?
Well, basically Exmoor Trim it's a family-run business. It was started around about 20 odd years ago, and we're a manufacturing business making aftermarket components for Land Rovers. So everything from seating, canvas hoods, upgrade parts, and a whole range of accessories in amongst that. But seating and hoods is really our core business, and that's what it was founded on. But the sort of the family history of Land Rover, with Julian, who's our chairman, his father and his grandfather goes back right to the very beginnings of Land Rovers in the sort of late 40s.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm correct in thinking that his grandfather was actually one of the first people to start designing Land Rover.
He was. Bert Gosling was actually employee number 11 at Land Rover in the late 40s, so he was there right at the cutting edge of the centre steer and all the early development work.
Very cool.
So,
Yeah, it was sort of right when it all kicked off really, at the birth of it, and then sort of so Bert's son Lou carried on, started working in Land Rover, went right through Range Rover, interior trim and experimental trim and everything, and then Julian sort of carried that on again with Exmoor Trim and where we are today, and it's
No, so it's got that family knowledge that's
absolutely
brought through the business and been passed on. So just walking around your showroom today, I saw some of the original designs back in the day. It's amazing to see that they're sort of still around. And
absolutely. I mean, Lou was very instrumental in the development of a lot of the hoods, sort of the series vehicles and some of the early Defenders. So he was quite fortunate, he managed to keep hold of a lot of the patterns in his original drawings.
Wow.
So we have got that archive and that knowledge of information that.
And that's why your
invaluable.
boots are so fitting, isn't it? Because if they're the same as the original, that would definitely do it. So for both of you, how did you get into the automotive world of Exmoor Trim?
well, I mean, I've always been into cars from like a young age sort of thing. I was brought up with cars and stuff and motorsport and that. I actually went to uni to be an environmental scientist of all things, and then things happens and job role changes and things, and you think fancy change, and ended up here.
I mean, I didn't really come from the automotive world, to be honest. My training was in industrial model making and rapid prototyping. And when I met Julian, I was working for myself, running a CNC shop and doing sort of subcontract work. Julian approached me to sort of start doing some the aluminium interior parts, some basic door handles and some steering wheel parts. Sort of over the years we got chatting and it sort of grew from there, and he sort of invited me to come and work for him. So it was kind of a bit of a, do I want to up sticks and move and bring everything that I'm doing into Exmoor Trim, but it's actually worked out really well. So I kind of amalgamated my business into Exmoor Trim, which is why we've now kind of got the CNC side of things here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all kind of grown out of that really.
And you do have some very cool CNC products at the moment, don't you, with your new
Yeah,
tools?
it's really taken off the last year. It was all quite small scale to begin with, but I don't know what kind of spurred on, but the market seems to have gone that direction, that people are really looking for that kind of thing. So we've had to increase our production sort of tenfold really to try and keep up. We've brought in new machines this year. We've increased all our tooling, working on all our processes to try and speed that up and get more products out the door.
Yeah, well, they definitely do look amazing. I've seen some in your showroom that actually fitted, and they look really cool.
Yeah, it's just something completely different.
Yeah.
So back to you, John Rayson. You're sort of saying that it's sort of a lot of family is where you sort of started in automotive, because this seems to be sort of a common theme that we've talked about throughout the podcast. Is a lot of people, it's a grandparent, it's a parent, or they're the ones at a young age they sort of started playing with cars, and then somehow it's just continued and spiraled out.
Yeah, I mean, my dad was an ag engineer in a local firm, and he was always into cars and everything. Used to do rallying and everything like that. I mean, we still do now. And yeah, it just sort of natural progression really. It was a local firm, and Land Rover was something I'd never really sort of taken much notice of. And yeah, it's just a whole interesting world of different things, isn't it?
Yeah.
To learn about and everything else. Yeah. And just the cult following.
Yeah.
Altogether, it's just something completely different.
Yeah, I think Land Rover is definitely that one where sort of customisable businesses like this can exist, because so many people have such a desire to customise.
Yeah, absolutely.
In reality, you'll never see two Defenders that are ever the same.
No, exactly. It's a completely blank canvas. Anything you want, you can do pretty much. It's incredible.
Which is just absolutely awesome, isn't it? How would you say the production has sort of changed over the years that Exmoor Trim's been going? Because I've seen some of the original sort of 100-year-old Singer sewing machines in the showroom to the massive machines you have now.
It's changed hugely. I think when Julian sort of started out, it was very much sort of in a small unit. Everything was done by hand, quite small scale, and it was sort of based around the idea, just retrim parts for farm trucks. Sort of late 1990s, early 2000s, Land Rovers were still working vehicles, and people just wanted to keep them going and patch them up. Sort of over the years, it grew and grew. Obviously, you've got 70 odd years of Land Rover vehicles that give you scope for product, and you've got all the background with the hoods, the different seats. So once they kind of got the basic range of products, it was a case of expanding out into more upgrade parts, bringing in tooling to have their own seat frames and things, and it's all grown from there. And Julian's ethos has always been very much to make his own products. So it's not a case of we can buy a seat frame from somebody else, they've already tooled that. He creates his own tooling. We own all the rights to our products, so we're not dependent on other people. We're quite unique in that respect. So every seat foam we make is off of our own tools. It's not bought in ex Land Rover parts or anything like that. So that's been kind of the direction the business has always gone in, and it's just sort of grown like that over the years. And anything that we can do each year to improve our production, be it bringing in more machinery, different technology, computer software, it's all just evolved like that.
Well, it's amazing to think that you can sort of do that and make your own seats from scratch, start to finish.
Yeah.
When it's only a team of 58 of you. It's not a massive team, and of course that's all broken up into then sales, HR, marketing. You've got dispatch, all the different sections.
Yeah, so many varied and different departments all coming together to make one thing is quite incredible, really.
Yeah.
To go from effectively a blank canvas of having no pattern at all, to then cutting all the patterns, sewing them all together, making sure they're all the right size and all the tolerances are correct, and then trimming them onto the seat where all the tolerances have got to be spot on. To your finished product is incredible, really, that journey.
And with it being such a small business as well, I think that's fantastic to be able to do it.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful. So one of the things that does come up with Exmoor Trim that we've sort of seen on Instagram and people purchasing it is the lead time. A lot of people sort of go to buy something, and of course your price is the correct price for the quality of the products, but some people are sort of put off by, it's not coming next day, it's not just off the shelf like other Land Rover parts suppliers do. So could you guys elaborate on a bit more of why there is the lead time and what it means?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, the biggest reason for our lead time is we've been inundated with orders the last sort of 18 months, 2 years. I think the people being at home, during lockdown and everything, meant that they had opportunities to get those Land Rovers out of the shed and start rebuilding, which was fantastic. During obviously the first part of lockdown, we had to close, as many businesses and manufacturers did, and there's been kind of an ongoing snowball effect from that with suppliers and supply chains. We've struggled for the first part of last year to get any raw materials at all, which causes a massive backlog, and of course orders didn't slow down at all during that time. So really that's the main reason for our backlog at the moment. I mean, we're doing everything we possibly can to reduce that and get it down to a sensible level again, but it really is just the sheer volume of orders that we've received, and like you say, we are only 58 people at the moment, and probably only half of those are actually on the shop floor manufacturing. We've recruited a lot of people over the last few months, but it takes time to train them, so obviously it is all skilled manual jobs, and it takes time because we've got such a wide range of products. A person in trimming has to learn how to trim up effectively 150 different seats. When you look across the whole range from sort of a Series 1 up to all of our Defender upgrade seats and cubby boxes, it's a huge range of products. So, building all that knowledge into an individual so they can go away and produce parts quickly takes a long time.
It's quite specialist, isn't
it?
It
is,
it's
yeah.
I can't imagine you're doing recruitment and there's millions of people that know how to make these unique
exactly that,
products.
yeah. It's not quite straightforward, just, screw these two bits together and put it in and box and out the door. It's,
it's a huge rostrum of information to suddenly learn, to then be able to sit there and produce from several, say 10, 15 pieces of canvas to create a hood, all sewn together with all the buckles and straps in the right place and ready to fit on the vehicle, and away you go. And learning that takes years. It's not a 5-minute sort of learning curve, really, is it at all?
No, not at all. I mean, because, like I say, we manufacture in-house, with a seat we literally start from a roll of fabric. We'll lay that out. We create all the patterns ourselves, so we have full control over that, but we cut each individual component. They then go to our sewing department and they will hand sew each of the panels of the seat together, and then they're checked, and then it's transferred to the trimming department, where the seat's fully assembled with the frame and the foams. So that whole process for one seat could really, depending on the complexity of the seat, could be a day and a half just for one pair of seats, through the whole factory. So you think the volume of seats that we actually create, all that time soon adds up.
And it's that quality control as well. You can't just rush it and do one. You can't make it faster. It is the speed it is, sort of thing.
Yeah. Obviously Russian sewing and everything like that, if the tolerance is out by more than sort of 5mm, you're talking the cover doesn't fit or the cover's way too baggy, and then at that point you're right back to cutting it again. So if you get an issue further down the line, it means even more time is then effectively added on to redo from the beginning.
Yeah, you guys are quite heavy on your quality checks and your quality control as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's sort of that scrutiny, isn't it? Making sure what's going out.
No, absolutely. It's would you want, if you were the customer, would you be happy with it? That's sort of the mindset, really.
So you've recently brought out the door hinges. We've sort of talked a bit about the CNC, but could you sort of explain the whole process of how that manufacturing works for Exmoor Trim? Because it's not just, as you say, something you've got a supplier to do and you've just sort of shipped them in.
No, exactly that.
Made in-house.
We literally start from the design process. So most of our aluminium projects, we spend probably 8 to 12 months just in development alone. So we'll start with the raw CAD, and we'll come up with a base concept. And what we try to do is not go for the simplest, quickest, easiest thing to machine. We've got the CAD software, we've got the technology to actually try and push it a bit further and make something interesting. So while we could just take a block of aluminium and knock the corners off and make a functional door handle or a hinge, for example, we thought, well, let's try and put some design into it, make it interesting, make it step above what else is out there and different from the original parts. So we've always kind of made that mentality that if we can make it better and more interesting and catch people's eye with it, that's the way we want to go. So we look at the function of it, the aesthetics of it, and the fitting. So the components and everything that go into it, from your nuts and bolts, and the longevity of how they're going to work on the vehicle. So once we've kind of made some prototypes and tested it, and we get to a point, it's viable. We have a couple of guys here who've got vehicles, and they're more than happy to go out and hammer them and give them some abuse. So we try and test as much as we can, and then it's a case of literally, we have 2 CNC machines now in house, and we tool everything up So we have fixtures on the machines where we can load multiple parts and machine as quickly as we possibly can. If we take like a door handle, for example, it's 6 individual components make up one exterior door handle. And each of those have multiple operations. So all told, there's 16 setups to produce one door handle. So we have to manage all of that with how we set the tooling, how many parts we can get in the machine to get that as that efficiency.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting as well. Because once you see the final product, it just sort of looks like it's all put together. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
And you don't really sort of think behind what are the actual mechanisms into going and building it. I mean, a lot of Land Rover enthusiasts would.
Yeah, absolutely.
They make it, but when you can sort of look between, like, you can get £12 plastic door handles, and of course they're just whipped up quite easily. The difference in quality is the difference in build.
Yeah,
is
and
quite
the
substantial.
longevity of the project as well. And the amount of time you're going to have that for is so much longer than a standard plastic handle.
Yeah.
That's the lifespan is everything.
That's it. Yeah, we want them to be fitted and last for years.
You
we
want to
try to get away from this
and
throw
keep
away
it
kind of mentality. So I mean, all the fittings we put in there, they're all stainless steel bolts. And really the only thing that we actually buy in for them is the screws and the fittings. All the actual mechanism parts and everything we make ourselves. So we've got complete control over them. And it's great because we have really good customers who are more than happy to give feedback, and we do evolve the design over time as people come back and say, have you thought about this, or we've tried this, and we've updated fitting kits, we've changed certain elements of the designs to improve them, and we're always happy to look at things like that.
Well, that's really good that they're sort of evolving and developing as well.
Yeah, well, it's the thing. There's only so much you can think of yourself, and you test. As best we can here in the UK, but we've got customers all over the world. So they go off to really hot parts of America, freezing cold parts of Norway. And, all those different things can affect tolerances. And
we've got a range of climates here, but sadly no deserts or
that's it.
Low altitude blasts.
Wet and mud we can do, but
So you've mentioned about the sort of the products that we've currently got. Can you tell us about anything new and exciting that you're soon to release?
Yeah, there's quite a lot. I think probably what's the sort of top of your list at the moment, John, is
the main thing we're working on at the moment is a 110 5-door bar set and soft top conversion.
Very cool.
Hopefully we'll be launching that early part of next year. That's our kind of big headline one, but we've got a couple of other smaller projects. We've been working on Range Rover interior for the last 2 or 3 years and gradually releasing that. And we've got some more parts sort of in the pipeline coming through for the 3-door Range Rover. Mostly floor mats is kind of where we're looking at that, but there are some other little bits and pieces in the pipeline. There's some more aluminium coming.
Nice.
We've been trying we've got all the bonnet hinges and everything are all set. We're just looking for some machine capacity now to start launch, get those ready to launch hopefully this year. Bonnet hinges, rear door hinges are in development. So hopefully by mid next year we'll have the full package. And there are a couple of other little things in the pipeline to keep an eye out for.
That'd be very cool, especially if you can
absolutely.
then get the sort of the Exmoor Trim look fully down. You can have your door handles.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the goal. Is we want to do a package effectively for your vehicle. And you say you just bought one or something, you're new into it. You think, I like that. Where can I get it elsewhere? And you can go around the whole vehicle and do everything. That's the idea anyway. So if you've got one set of hinges, you want them all to be the same. So it's just an evolution of what we do already, really. And it's sort of natural progression in that as well.
Yeah, it would be awesome to get those out. And sort of interior-wise, what else do you have coming out?
What are we allowed to say?
There is that. I mean, so series-wise, Series 3, we've got quite a few new products coming. One of which is a new design of the Deluxes. So the original sort of lake type seat with new fluting, new colour options, something which not really has been explored previously. So it'll be something completely different to bring it into the sort of 21st century, really, of where we are.
I've seen those in the workshop, the tan Deluxe
seats.
Because I've got the black Deluxe seats, but now I'm sort of wondering, do I get another set? Do we have like a winter black and the summer tan? Because those are absolutely stunning and sort of bring it into that.
It's something completely new, completely different. It brings it up to the same sort of spec as the Defender gets. in terms of your options and availability of various different finishes, and also your personalisation. The series is very much, you can have the original at the moment. There's not really a lot of option for if you want it to make it your own.
Yeah.
So this will give it something a completely new edge in terms of that.
I think that's fantastic, because where sort of in the last 2 years, Defender prices have just gone insane.
Yeah.
I've got a series myself. I looked at getting Defender last year, and just simply it was like, do I spend 12 grand to get an okay Defender, or do I spend way less than that and get a really good series?
Yeah, exactly.
And then even those have now shot up in the last year. But same, I've been looking for any customisation, what can I change, what can I sort of do differently?
Yeah.
And it doesn't really exist at the moment. So if you guys, well, unless you go down the fully restored and pay a company to do it and spend £100,000 on your series,
Yeah,
it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
So
no, that's it. It's either you got to invest a lot of money to get what you want, or you stay with what's original and just have it nice. It's a much more affordable range of products and range of options. So yeah, it would definitely bring in the series market to a whole new realm of options, really.
Yeah, I think that would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and the other part of that is we've already got a basic series steering wheel boss that allows you to fit the wood rim steering wheels, and we're hoping to expand that out so we can fit all of our steering wheels to series.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's another thing that's just been absolutely ridiculously popular the last sort of year or so, is upgrade steering wheels.
Yeah, because that's one of the things, is I've seen them on live and I've considered one. And of course, one of the things about series is, I'm correct in thinking, those are slightly smaller than the original ones, aren't they?
Yes.
And of course, a lot of people say the steering wheels are big for a reason, because
Power steering.
yeah. I took a horrible one in a Range Rover garage when I was driving a new Defender, and there was a Range Rover SVR and a Defender, and it was a triangular car park, and I wanted to get next to it for the shot, no power steering, and it was a horrible parking experience. If I crash, it could be $250,000 job. But yeah, so I sort of, one of the things that I was sort of worried about when I was looking at them is that it is slightly smaller, but then actually seeing them today in your showroom and getting to feel one, and of course because it is that wood and metal, I didn't know if sat there on the motorway, it's not the same as the rubber, it's going to be horrible.
Yeah.
But actually seeing one and feeling one today, they're amazing.
Yeah, they're really nice.
Lovely.
Yeah, I must admit, when I first saw them, yeah, it looks nice, but it's probably not that practical. But yeah, we've got our Series 3 here, and I've driven it around quite a lot, and it's actually a really nice thing to use.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, in all fairness, if I had the option, I would probably have that over a standard wheel. Having driven the company Series 3, it's lovely to drive with. It's the right size and everything, and the right weight. So you just it doesn't feel any different than what you would expect, really. It's just an upgrade.
The trim on it and the finish does look fantastic.
Yeah,
with that wood.
it really does finish them off nicely.
True sort of like racing classic.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Still
absolutely.
being farmer enough that you can smack around in it. Sort of that versatility. So this is a question that we've asked all of the people that have been on the podcast so far. So we can do it one of two ways. You can do 100k garage, and you can have any car you want, which we did with Retro Paradise, and they won't mind me saying they're a bit of car hoarders, so it doesn't really work because they were going for 100 cars, grand each.
This could be here for a while.
Yeah. So maybe whisk it down to like 3k, 3-car garage for 100k. What would you guys be going for?
Actually, well, I was kind of thinking about this. My one, if I had to buy a Land Rover, and might as well keep it on Land Rovers, as that's what I would probably blow 100k on one. Quite fancy. I've always wanted to do an Overlander.
Yeah.
Looking around, a lot of companies have been doing electric conversions recently. I think it'd be really cool to do full electric Overlander. So something like a 127 ambulance.
Yeah.
I think that would be something different and pretty funky.
Cool. Do you know who you'd get to do your electric conversion? Have you had a look around?
Well, ECC in Wales look like they do some really, really cool stuff. I've been following them since they were sort of started out, and
cool.
yeah.
And of course, not too far from you guys actually down
No,
there, are they?
That's true, yeah.
Just needs 100k now.
Yeah, sadly, this is all hypothetical.
Yeah, I think I'm in sort of the same boat. I've got a list as long as my arm of things, of cars that I would love to own. I mean, I've got a fair collection already, but I think 100k, I'm talking sort of Group B stuff and things like that. I mean, that's the sort of wallpaper, sort of poster wall things that I'm looking at. Things like the Audi 205 T16.
Cool.
Yeah, that's where my heart is really. Other than that, I've got a penchant for JDM stuff, so Skyline Supras, but then you're talking, better sell my house for that. So yeah, I mean, Land Rover wise, I mean, I would love a 90 long travel suspension, TD5 or V8.
Yeah.
Remap, everything, all the bells and whistles, big tyres, the lot. Something to have fun in at the weekend. That would be ideal. Yeah.
No, that'd be very cool. So, what's in your current collection though?
All sorts. I've actually just sold a K5 Blazer, which I've just restored over the last couple of years.
Oh, right.
Came all the way from Arizona, so yeah, that was a bit different. Always wanted one. Never meet your heroes, I think is the yeah. But yeah, I think otherwise I got a GTO from Japan. That's Mitsubishi.
Oh, cool.
Bit of an old school 90s supercar. 205s. I've got 205 rally car, and yeah, that's
really cool.
yeah, no, that's a bit rapid, that is. So that's good fun, that is. Yeah, just fun stuff, really.
Yeah, no,
Need to thin the herd a bit and get something really nice. But yeah,
no, that'd be very cool. We'll go for what is your proudest moment at Exmoor Trim?
I don't know. I'd say particularly one moment that makes me particularly proud, but I mean, one thing that always strikes me is when we get customers come down, particularly with our fitting centre, and just how enthusiastic people get, and when they send their vehicles in, and we put a full new interior in, and that moment when you hand it over to them, that's great. You see the look on their face, and because a lot of the time, these vehicles they're part of the family. They've had them for years, and they've all got a bit shabby and tatty, and come down for a new lease of life. Yeah. And that's always a really nice moment. So yeah, that's probably one of the nicest parts of the job. Just in general, I mean, having had the opportunity to work with Julian, his father, and have that real feedback and contact with Land Rover and the whole Land Rover world. There's not many jobs where you get that kind of aspect to it. There's a lot of heritage with Land Rover, and you really do feel it working.
Yeah, definitely. Get meeting the various people you do, of all sort of ilks of the Land Rover world, really, right back to people who design bits for the Discovery, to the Range Rover, and just enthusiasts, everything. It's all it's very different.
Yeah. For such a small business to have those links.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's it. And it's all around the world as well. That's the thing. People from Australia, Norway, anywhere you can think of, France, Germany, Belgium. There's so much passion for it everywhere. Yeah. And it's very special in as much to be part of that, really.
Yeah, it's very cool. And especially with the fitting centre, that's sort of quite new, sort of in the last few years, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Basically, what the idea was that obviously we've got a whole range of products. We rely on people to fit them themselves, but we thought, well, we give people the opportunity if they want to bring their vehicles to us and have their seats fitted, or have a carpet set fitted, or a hood or a bar set. They can come in and we'll do that for them. You can either leave it here for a few days, or they come in for the day, depending on how much they want. But yeah, and it is proving to be really popular. People love to come down, see what we do, and it's a nice way for them to get their vehicle fitted out without busting their knuckles and having to stress about doing
that. One stubborn bolt.
Exactly.
Well, that must be really cool to see a lot of different cars coming in, and they must never get like two that are the same.
Oh, never.
I don't think we've ever had two the same. In all the times we've had vehicles here, even from people just visiting, dropping in, sort of thing, it's always something completely different every time. And everything from really rare 107s to that complete overland vehicle we had in here once, which was just something else entirely, 130 with all the body and everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Imagine that was fun to park.
But yeah, it's just everything like that. You see everything. Just things you'd never expect, and that's quite different in itself. But yeah, it's always like seeing the customer when they see what we've done. And seeing how happy they are with it. That's definitely something. Yeah.
It makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So one of the products that I really like, and it's one of my favourite ones, and doesn't work with my series because the problem is I've got the fuel tanks under the seats, so you've got to remove everything out and do it. But it's your tweed seats that you've created. I think those are one of the best things that's quite possibly come out of Exmoor Trim. And I was just waiting. Now time is to get a Defender. Admittedly, the worst time to try and buy one. But just to get something just so I can put those seats in, because they're just phenomenal. So do you have any more plans for your tweed ranges, or?
Well, we've kind of the tweed's one of those things. I mean, we kind of did it as a bit of a one-off originally. It got so much feedback from people. We thought, well, we can't not do anymore. So it's now part of our bespoke range, whereby you can pick pretty much any of the Harris tweed range and match it with a particular leather, and we don't do it across all of our seats because unfortunately it's a very difficult material to work with. But with certain seats, we can do it. So people can pretty much pick and choose how they want to build it.
That's really cool.
So I mean, the whole bespoke aspect of the business is something that's also grown up over the last couple of years of customizable seats, and
it's a whole another kettle of fish. That is,
it's huge.
And just the sheer variance of what people have is incredible. Just the options that we offer, while some are limited to certain seats and things, even within those ranges there's so much option for you. The likelihood you'll have the same seat as somebody else having a bespoke seat is so slim, it's unbelievable. Just the feedback we get from customers on those is fantastic.
Yeah, and I think, like you say, it is quite an interesting material because I've done some work with tweed before as well, and I think it's those ones where it is very versatile, but at the same time it is great. It's cotton, isn't it? So it can be, but the way that you've designed your seats with the leather and the tweed as well, of course, still keeps that sort of Land Rover versatility. Like you can get oil on it and wipe it off.
Yeah. The difficulty we have with Harris tweed is you can't machine cut it. So most of our parts are all CNC cut, but because of the way it's woven, we literally have to hand cut it because it moves around so much. And of course, you want all the lines that are running through the tweed to be as straight as possibly can. So we literally have to use templates, lay it out, get it as square as we possibly can, and then hand cut each panel. So they get quite labour intensive.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But it's sort of ties back to us, and as much as Harris tweed is all handmade, everything here is sort of handmade as well.
Yeah, and it's fantastic carrying that across, isn't it? It's somebody from Scotland now coming down to Devon to then be sort of again remade in the UK by skilled professionals.
Absolutely. Yeah, keeping it within Great Britain and the UK is fantastic.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So I've seen your lovely two-door Range Rover Classic that is sat in the workshop. It's currently in pieces. But I'm correct in thinking it's going to be put together with more Exmoor trim than any other Range Rover Classic has.
I would think so, yeah. That's a long-term restoration project. All the running gear and everything is done on that. We're now about to start on the bodywork. But over the last 2 or 3 years, we've sort of undertaken quite a mammoth project. I don't think we quite realised how much we'd bitten off when we started.
As always with the Land Rover.
With everything.
Went to go buy it in the rain, paint looked good, it was all fine, wasn't leaking oil.
Got it home, looked at it in daylight and thought, oh god.
And we went one step further and decided, well, let's reproduce all the interior trim for the sort of early Suffolk A, B and C Range Rovers. And it sort of started out, okay, well, we need to reproduce the herringbone fabric and the vinyl, and that took a very long time to find a manufacturer that could create those weaves for the herringbone. And then once we got to that point, it was okay, well, we can't find any decent original foams. So then we started retooling all the foams for the front seats and the bench seats. Again, that took quite a while, just because of the sheer size of them, particularly the bench seat. I mean, they're monstrously great things.
Single foam for the back and the base is just something else.
It really is. I mean, you sort of look at it and you think, well, the guys were doing this in the 70s with fairly limited technology compared to what we've got, and we're struggling with some of this stuff now.
Right.
And it's pretty full on.
Or at least you've sort of got some Land Rover heritage to be able to pick
unfortunately,
this is it,
yeah, I mean, Lou, Julian's father, he was kind of at the forefront of doing a lot of that stuff, so he was really helpful and came down and sort of gave us a lot of pointers on how it was done, but doesn't necessarily make it any easier once you know.
And also somebody's standing there telling you how to do it and you're trying to machine it, so they can't.
It's just getting the raw materials was half the problem, and then once we developed that, it was a case of working out ways we could. We're not big enough to be a mass producer, as Land Rover would have been back in the day, but you're not making one at a time. So with a set of covers for a Range Rover, you want to be making a small batch, but finding ways of sewing the flutes into each of those panels, and to get them consistent and perfectly straight by hand. I think we actually spent probably the best part of a year and a half working out a way of doing that.
Wow, that's significant R&D, isn't it?
It's massive. Yeah. And you sort of look at it and you go, well, what is it? It's just a fluted seat, but because of the sheer size, and particularly you take the bench, which is it's about 4 feet wide on the flute section, and I think there's about 36 individual flutes. But if you pinch a millimetre out of each one of those, or you gain a millimetre, you could be 1.5 inches, 2 inches out to mix all the units every time you get to the end of the seat. So finding a way we could do that consistently was a challenge. And in the end, what we've actually ended up using is our CNC sewing machine, which we bought in for a completely different reason. It was actually for sewing our diamond patterns in the seats. But we actually figured out that's the best way of doing it, and we can put sew lines through the seat, the material and the foam, that gives us a guide to then finish them off. Even then it's not 100% guaranteed, and it still takes an awful lot of skill to do the finished sewing. But we're at a point now where we can say yes, we can do them consistently.
I think it's a perfect time to bring out the product, because same with Defenders and sort of series.
Range Rover
Classics
is having a revival of someone.
Huge. I mean, I've always liked them personally.
The
market seems to.
It's gone crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're at a point now where we've got most of the two-door interior covered. We found a very good company in Italy that were able to reproduce the carpet for us. They're a real high-end carpet manufacturer, and they did a fantastic job of reproducing the bronze carpet. Because again, I mean, the way that carpet's woven, it's a real sort of old school 1950s, 60s kind of technology that nobody uses anymore. So to get close to that was quite an achievement in itself.
And I imagine a lot of the machines, the sort of things that you'd need for it, have probably disappeared over the
years. This is it. All those kind of old weaving looms, it's all been replaced by mass manufacturing machinery that works on totally different kind of methods, really.
And so when do you expect that sort of product range will fully launch?
Most of it's available now. We're just continually adding to it. We launched earlier this year the front door armrest, which is kind of a moulded PU little piece. I mean, the original ones, they all sort of shrink and crack and fall apart. So it's just one of those silly little things that you just can't buy anywhere.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's it. And that's the thing. It's all the little bits that you can't get anymore. Like the armrest, for example, because they're just a part that originally people have just gone, oh, that's a wrecked one, I'll just go and nick them out of that, or I'll go and buy it second hand because somebody's breaking one up, and now they're getting to the point where nobody's breaking them up anymore. The parts aren't available.
I think if you're breaking down a two-door classic, you've probably got to be a bit screwed loose at the moment, don't you?
Absolutely.
Restore one's much better, isn't it?
So we try to cover it as much as we can. So when we started doing the seats, it was initially just going to be the covers and the foams. But then you sort of look at the seat and go, well, the little plastic covers that go over the pivots. I mean, well, the old one, they all look tatty and faded now, so we ended up making new injection mould tools for those parts, and then it sort of goes from there. You look at the back of the seat and you go, well, you can't find a decent seat back panel anymore. So then you get involved in tooling all those parts. So
that's quite cool. The sort of like Exmoor Trim, of course, is Land Rovers, but sort of the Land Rover ethos is sort of continued through. If you start a project, I'll just do that one bit. Actually, I'll do another bit.
On it goes.
And then all of a sudden, you've got a full Range Rover Classic interior in the machines to make them. So it's really cool.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's something completely new every day, pretty much. That's the best way to describe it, isn't it?
Pretty much. There's never not a challenge.
It's really awesome. So I've seen out in your workshop, you've got a really cool TD5 that's green, and I can see it's having some work done to it. But it's not a British TD5, is it? It's a NAS one.
Yes, it's a North American spec 90, which was sold into the States for a short period of time. So the main difference was it had its own roll cage, effectively, with a front external hoops on it. We've actually re-engineered the original hood with our own sort of upgraded version. So the hood is actually insulated, so it keeps the warmth in, stops it flapping and everything. And it's the original sort of spec that the Americans would have enjoyed back in the late 90s. John sort of spent quite a lot of time re-engineering it.
So I mean, it's kind of a two-part project. So we launched the hood earlier last year. So that's, we're selling a lot of those into the States at the moment for people, because the bar set for the original NAS is nothing like a standard bar set. It's actually got a moulded PU covering on it. So we had to completely sort of start from scratch with that one. So the hood's available now, and that fits directly onto an original NAS. And we're also in the process of retooling that roll cage.
Cool.
I can't call it a roll cage, it's a bar set. We're creating a replica of that with the padded mouldings on the outside of it. Because a lot of those cages, the rubber splits and they fall apart. So and again, it was such a short run of production. I think it was like 3 or 4 years in the States.
Yeah,
really,
they're quite a rare defender, aren't
Yeah,
they?
absolutely.
they had to jump through so many hoops to make them meet the American regulations.
Yeah.
But I think it just proved so costly and difficult
So
to.
that's probably enough was enough.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of defenders in America, are there? And now that you can export them,
No.
the prices of exportable ones are just silly, aren't they?
Yeah,
There's the
absolutely.
demand over there for them. So yeah, I think NAST is an interesting one because you see it,
It
through
is.
them.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people want to replicate that look. And
Definitely, yeah. We initially sort of started looking at, well, it would be replacement bar parts for the American market, but the more you look at it, you think, well, people are going to want to convert just standard defenders to look like the NAS
yeah,
because they are so rare. So yeah, hopefully at some point next year, again, that's another long ongoing project with quite a few hurdles that we've still got to go through yet, but
I can imagine.
yeah, that's one to look for.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, so anything like that, if you sign up to our newsletter and that keep an eye on our website, we'll launch all of that as and when any information comes available.
Yeah, and I'm actually think you've got a new website as well, don't you?
Yes, we have. So we started a project a couple of years ago to basically just reinvigorate the entire website from the ground up. So yeah, it started off with us collaborating with our website developers, Pixie Media, and we just rebuilt from the ground up, new imagery, new information, new categorization, new search functions. Yeah, just a complete revamp basically.
Yeah, that's really good. I suppose as well, where you've got the heritage, you guys have probably had websites since 2003 where they were back on dial-up. So a bit.
Yeah, no, there is that. Some of it was very much we had information that was outdated, to say the least, and a lot of the sort of file organisation of images and things like that took quite a long time to sort through. Because everything was just like, oh yeah, just bung that in there and bung that in there when new stuff came out, and it wasn't really sort of planned as we're going to keep this forever sort of thing. So the new website was like a collaboration and a conglomeration of all of that back into one again. So yeah, that was something. And at the same time, we were sort of running a new project to run our new ERP system, which runs all of our production and sales and manufacturing and dispatch. That was something completely new again. We had to do something to effectively change the way in which we manufactured because of the demand and get ahead of that really proactively to sort of really start planning our times and our manufacturing costs and our manufacturing inputs and how we would effectively manage all of the orders that we were getting. So that took about 2 years to implement. And we went live with that sort of late 2019, I think it was.
Cool.
So yeah, we're just starting to see the very start of the results, really, of where we can get with that. And there's so much scope in that in terms of efficiencies and wastage and things like that, and reducing all of that and making sure that we're as efficient as possible from where we get the orders to when they go out the door, and most importantly, getting our lead times down.
Yeah.
Which is something we're really sort of hot on in terms of getting that sorted.
Yeah, I think it's amazing this sort of modernisation of this sort of classic method and how it's changed, and then also how the modernisation can affect and sort of make it a bit more difficult, like you're saying, with the Range Rover classic parts.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's another big key to that is we're trying to move to a paperless system, because it used to be in the old days when I started off, there was paper everywhere and piles of orders and piles of like works orders and things, and it was all like the planning was, oh, we'll do this pile, and yeah, it's something completely different now. It's you can see everything, you've got the visibility of where everything is, of how much we've got to make in a certain department and how long that's going to take effectively. So yeah, the benefits are massive.
Yeah, it's amazing.
No, it is really phenomenal when we think, over the last 5 years. I mean, it's really been sort of 2016 when the Defender production stopped.
Yeah.
And I think everybody sort of woke up and went, oh, it's suddenly a classic now.
Yeah.
And the whole market shifted almost overnight to, just restoring farm trucks and working vehicles to now, we're all looking at upgrade vehicles, almost turning into, luxury lifestyle vehicles. And, as a business, we've had to evolve very rapidly with that because it was very much a family sort of cottage industry type business. And, it was all done fairly loosely and, what worked on the day worked. But now we've got to be a lot more professional. We've got to get all those manufacturing processes in place to make it as streamlined as we can. We are literally shipping all over the world now.
Yeah.
We've got suppliers dotted all around the world, and we can't be lax about any of those things. So when we're doing our big project this year to look at all of our packaging, we're cutting all the plastic out of our packaging wherever we possibly can, to make everything recyclable. So we buy in recycled cardboard. We make sure that what the customer receives is easy to dispose of, and they're not getting piles and piles of rubbish. But at the same time, the products are properly packaged and gets where they're going safely.
Yeah,
So
I think that's so important, and it sort of goes back to originally, like, it's that whole Land Rover ethos, isn't it? It's that quality and the sort of thought out, rather than just having cheap plastic or easy packaging.
Yeah.
It's that sort of quality all the way through, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something that we're going to be doing quite quickly is a new seat box for packaging. So that's hopefully going to reduce the cost of shipping goods for front seats anyway, which at the moment is, with everything that's gone on in the last couple of years with Brexit and everything like that, has just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So we're actively trying to reduce the amount of paper and cardboard and everything we're using, and also reduce the cost to the customer so they can get the goods faster, safer, and in one piece more than anything.
Yeah, and it's amazing to hear it, because it seems to be small businesses much more conscious of sort of things like that than sort of large ones that just are happy to produce waste.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's amazing to hear.
I was saying you feel those costs very quickly as a small business, so you've got to be very mindful of that all the time.
So you talked about sort of the reduction of waste in packaging, but what about in the actual manufacturing of the products?
Yeah, so we've had quite a lot of sort of, as part of the ongoing product sort of improvements and upgrades and things across the whole of our range. We've reduced the amount of glue we use, so we don't use spray cans anymore of glue, which is something that obviously aerosols to protect the environment. The reduction in that is across the board, so we don't do them on our trim kits anymore. We don't use them with carpet. Carpet we use effectively a double-sided tape, heavy-duty double-sided tape. So you're not sending glue all around the world anymore. It's a lot more ecologically friendly. We've also reduced sort of all of our wastage in our manufacturing for cutting and sewing and things like that through all of our new machinery basically as well. Yeah.
So about 2 years ago, we were looking at our leather cutting particularly. We buy in full leather hides. And basically when we were cutting them, you start to see the amount of wastage that was building up. So we invested very heavily in a CNC leather cutter. And the software that comes with that enables us to nest the individual cut patterns very tightly on the hide. So, I mean, you're literally down to sort of microns in between each panel. So our leather wastage has been hugely reduced.
I've seen that in manufacturing, and the amount that comes out and the amount of waste is just absolutely minimal.
Yeah, I mean, there's barely anything between each of the parts now. I mean, we used to manually lay those parts out by hand, and it took forever. I mean, one seat cut used to take around 45 to 50 minutes, manually laying out the parts, nesting it onto the hide. I think we do it in about 4 or 5 minutes.
Wow.
So it's a huge time saving and a huge efficiency in material usage.
Yeah.
So, those are the kind of things that we're looking across the whole board. How we can better use our materials, how we can more efficiently buy materials, and we work with all of our supply chain, to try and reduce the amount of either stock that we have to move around or how we package stock when it comes into us. So
it's fantastic to see that sort of focus being brought through the business, because of course Land Rovers aren't admittedly the most environmentally friendly, but if we are conscious and everyone sort of reduces and does their part. Like you say, the electrification of Land Rovers.
Definitely, I think that's going to be a huge thing over the coming years.
Twisted and other ones are doing a lot of really cool electrification at the moment.
Yeah, I think we've got to follow suit with the market of people like Rivian and everyone like that who's making big steps in electrification of vehicles really, or even going to hydrogen. It's all there to.
Porsche may save all of us with their synthetic.
Fingers crossed.
just broken ground in Chile, so hopefully that won't save us all.
Fingers crossed.
So a huge thank you to John and John for joining us today from Exmoor Trim, and it's been absolutely fantastic. If you don't already know or you want to learn more about Exmoor Trim, make sure you go check out their website and sign up to their newsletter online. So once again, a huge thank you to Exmoor Trim for inviting us down and having the podcast and taking a factory tour. Once again, if you are interested in Exmoor Trim, make sure you head over to their website, just search it, and make sure you follow them on social media. And also they've got a newsletter as well, which generally has very good offers and sales. So thank you very much to them. For us, we'll be launching our next podcast with a very interesting one. but I can't tell you more about that yet. So make sure you follow us on social media. And also, if you're not already yet, make sure you're following the podcast on whatever you listen it on, if it's Spotify, Apple Music. But most importantly, if you really want to support us again, head over to our YouTube, subscribe, turn on notifications, and listen to our podcasts on there. It means the world, and we'll speak to you guys soon. See you at the next one.